Hello YouTube. It is your friendly neighborhood Minecraft YouTuber Ender Steve back again with a brand new video. Today we got something very exciting for you guys, but before we get into that, I do want to just say congratulations to KevMC, I Love My Waifu, KNuri87, Yanti Toyo 2, Matthew Delaney, and Derek Scherberger. You definitely made the right choice for joining the council, and we welcome you. So now let's get into the actual meat and potatoes, but before we do, I do want to urge everyone to go ahead and like this video because it always helps the videos. Helps my channel a ton too. Comment, drop a CBB down in the comments for your +5 experience. And if you are new, go ahead and subscribe and hit that bell so you'll always be notified when I drop a new video. And yeah, let's actually get into it now. As I'm sure all of you already know by the title, we are going to be doing an automatic XP farm. And before we actually get into the actual XP farm, I do want to go over a few things first. So one, it's going to be using a skeleton spawner, so we're going to be going over all the different spawner mechanics. And then two, it's going to also use dogs, but we're not going to go over all of the mechanics of dogs because that only one mechanic of dogs is very important. And that is that they actively seek out skeletons and attack them. But yeah, let's get into these perimeters now. You can see I have a few perimeters set up. So this blue stained glass is the active area of that spawner. So as long as a player's feet are somewhere in this blue sphere, that spawner will attempt to spawn skeletons. So this has a diameter of 31, a radius of 15 and a half. And yeah, it's centered around that spawner block. Same with all these other ones. This yellow rectangular prism is a 15 by 15 by 9 rectangular prism. Again, centered on the spawner block. And this is kind of like a check. So if there are 6 skeletons inside of this rectangular prism, this spawner will basically not work anymore. And if there were 5 skeletons in this area, then 1 skeleton could spawn and then it would stop again. But in my design, basically as soon as the skeletons spawn, they are dropped out of this area and they will never enter this area again. So pretty much our spawner, this spawner is going to be running at max efficiency. And then last perimeter we have to go over is probably the most important, and that is the actual spawning perimeter. This is the area in which the skeletons will spawn. This is going to be different depending on what type of spawner you get. It's going to be the same for zombies, different for skeletons, or sorry, different for spiders. But yeah, it's kind of strange. The mobs will spawn on the bottom of these blocks. So on the bottom of these blocks, bottom of these blocks, and the bottom of those blocks, and every single block inside of that area. And yeah, so basically when you would first find your spawner, it would be in a little dungeon and have some chests, some loot around it. So you'd basically loot that and then start to dig out this entire area. So you would dig out 1, 2, 3, 4 on every side of the spawner. You would definitely want to light up the spawner and the area as much as possible because it checks, the spawner checks all the area inside of this this red rectangular prism. And if any block has a light level that is lower than 8, so 7 or lower, then it'll be able to spawn skeletons. So you do want to definitely place some light down when you first find this, or else it'll just start spawning skeletons. And basically what you would do, like I just said, is just build out, dig out 4 away on each of the sides of the spawner. Above it you would need 2 gaps, 2 blocks of air and then a ceiling. So 2 above, I guess 3 above technically, 3 above the spawner, that would be where your ceiling is. And then 6 blocks of air in between the spawner and the floor. And so I actually have to go in a certain direction, but then you would basically just pick one of these corners, any which corner. We're not going to put the water in yet because we're going to do that all at the end. But basically you go right here into whatever corner you would like and take out these 3 blocks right here. And then depending on which way you would want to go, you could go this way. I have to go this way because that's where my little chamber is. It's already built up over there. So I have to go straight this way. And you build out 3 high, 1, 2, and 3. And you can see you would actually build this out 4, but I already have some stuff built up already. So on the third block in, you would actually dig out this space right here and put a waterlogged fence right there, and that block right there will give them a half step to step onto to get up to that soul sand, and that'll also make it so the water doesn't flow back this way, which is really nice. Then above that soul sand, above that one piece of soul sand, you would then dig out 25 blocks up. So from here all the way to right here would be 25 blocks. You would take it out another 2, so 26, 27, and then bring that forward 8 blocks. So here we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we'd actually make this 9 long. And then what you would also want to do is directly behind you. So you want to face the direction that your drop chute is going to be, and then you're just going to do a 180, and you're actually going to dig out that hole right there. And in order to get this water flow to flow correctly, basically what you would do is take that, put a block right there, put a bucket of water in there, and then just break that block. And now this water flow should be perfect. You won't get any skeletons clumped up here, which you would get if that was not there. So if this was just like this, a lot of skeletons would get stuck right here for some reason. I don't know exactly why, but now we just do that and it's all good. And now, probably most importantly, your drop chute after 8 blocks. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Sorry, after 7 blocks. 8 away from the spawn, 8 away from the source block, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Then you're going to have your drop chute, and you're going to want to make sure, triple check this particular part, that it drops the mobs 22 blocks to the floor of your chamber. And your chamber is just going to where you're going to keep your dogs. I actually put these slabs strategically placed so that you can actually keep lanterns in there, which is kind of nice. You can still see in here. It is very dark in here, but you can still see a little bit. But yeah, that is basically, once you dig all that stuff out, like I said, that is basically everything almost done. Now we're just going to set up these water flows. So you're going to go ahead diagonally away from the corner that you chose for your uptake. You're going to go ahead and place 1 block in the corner, place 1 bucket of water on top of that block, and then just break that block. And similar with my iron farm, you're just going to go out 1, 2, 3 from the corner, and then just start right there and just fill in this whole line right there. Same thing again, 1, 2, 3. And just keep going all the way to the corner. And you can see right there, everything just flows perfectly into this chamber, and then skeletons will come up this way, get pushed over here, and drop down here. Alright, perfect. So now there's a few more things that we need to do. So in order to make this max efficiency, I need to tell you about this flushing system right here. So every time a skeleton spawns inside of this string, this dispenser right here will dispense a bucket of water over these fence gates, which will flow onto the spawner and push anything off of it. So back in the day, we used to use a column on top of it, which would take up spawning spaces. Obviously now we don't do that anymore, and we allow the skeletons to spawn on top of it. And we use this pretty ingenious dispenser kind of observer dispenser system, which really fantastically enough only dispenses the water when the skeletons are inside of that tripwire, which I think is really cool. Took me a while to figure that out, because in Imlango's video he definitely does not go over that, so I had to watch the video like slow motion like a few times. But basically how that works is very simple. It's just a tripwire that goes over the spawner block. You would want to make it so that when you're facing your chamber, you want to make it so that you have to turn left or right to see the tripwire hooks, if that makes any sense. So you want to make them on the left and right side of this farm, if the front was this chamber right here. So we're just going to call that the front. These are the left and right sides. And basically once you get that, you're going to fill that up with string. Just put a bunch of string in between there. On top of the block that the tripwire goes into, you're going to place a piece of redstone dust, an observer looking at that redstone dust. So basically that observer will send a pulse when that redstone dust turns on and when it turns off, which is very important. And then you just have it connected to that dispenser right there. Simply enough. Like I said before, it's a very ingenious design. I'm very happy to finally have figured it out. And then basically you would just put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different fence gates in a certain pattern. So hopefully you guys can see, is basically one underneath the dispenser, 3 blocks underneath it, so 1, 2, and 3, and then just kind of surrounding all the different surrounding the water flow. And yeah, that is basically, that makes this skeleton spawner design 100% efficient, or basically max efficiency. It's not 100% efficient just because they will still attempt to spawn inside the spawner, so you still will get 2 and 3 spawns and not always 4 spawns, but you get pretty much only 4 spawns and a lot of 3 spawns and some 2 spawns. But yeah, the lights are also pretty simple enough. Right here I have a lever. It's hard to see. I can't break this block right here because that'll break the lever. But one underneath the lever, you're going to build out one behind it and place a redstone dust right there. And then just link all the different lights together. I have them all set on a delay as well. So this first light has a 1 tick delay. Second light has 2 ticks. This one has 3 ticks, and then 4 and 5. So it kind of makes a cool effect. You can do that as well with your farm. But yeah, let me go ahead and just run this for half a second just to show you that it works all good and well. There we go. All of our wolves are now sitting up and they are vigilant. And last thing we also did is because we need the floor to be 100% flat of our chamber, or because we need the floor of our chamber to be 100% flat, so we can grab all the XP that is given to us, we have to use a slightly different item retrieval service. So you can see here I have a hopper minecart, and that'll actually still pick up any items that are over this block. Items will still kind of get tossed out here, you saw right there, but it doesn't, you're not going to lose that much. I'm not too worried about that. This is for XP, that's why I made this farm. It's not really for items, but you will get a ton of bone meal, which is kind of nice. Enchanted bows, some enchanted armor, but all that stuff is kind of not important compared to some of the other farms that you can make for that kind of thing. Like an AFK fish farm is definitely better for enchanted items than this, but obviously this is better on XP. And also the main reason why I made this video is just because it uses the actual mechanics of the game, which I think is a really cool idea. You don't have to rely on any type of outside help from something that's going to hold your trigger down for you, basically. And then also with those designs, you would also need a beacon, so you would have to be pretty far into the game to actually do that, because hitting mobs will actually make your stamina go down. So you'll take damage eventually if you use the rubber man method. This method, the only thing that is not infinite about it is the fact that the wolves will take damage like very, very rarely. So one way that they'll take damage is because if you're on hard, the skeletons can spawn with armor with thorns on it. But this happens honestly so rarely. I've AFK'd overnight with 4 or 5 wolves, and I've had all 4 or 5 left. I've AFK'd with 2, I think, one time overnight, and I came back and there was 1 left, so that was kind of a little bit stressful. But if you have 4 or 5 wolves, you should be more than fine. And yeah, that is basically the entire thing. So this will get you to level 30 in about 22 minutes, which is not very quick at all. If you've seen my pigment farm or my gold nugget farm, then you know that this is very, very slow, because that'll do it in about 8 minutes, I believe. But yeah, I just really like the idea of this one. This is one of my personal favorite farms. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video. I know I didn't build this whole thing with you in this video, but I hope I explained everything well enough so that when you build this in your survival world, you'll still be able to have it run correctly and all of that stuff. You definitely should. I feel like I explained myself pretty well. And yeah, once again, if you made it this far in the video, you are actually one of the realists, and I really hope that you get everything you want out of life. And if you could just do me the big favor of liking this video, commenting, drop whatever type of comment. If you have any feedback for me, definitely drop that down in the comments. And then if you haven't already, go ahead and subscribe. Hit that bell to always be notified. But yes, this has been Ender Steve. I just want to say thank you again for coming out and watching my video. And yeah, this is Ender Steve signing out. Have a great rest of your day.